Superman is the greatest superhero ever invented. He is the pinnacle of what all superheroes should be. He prioritizes the health and safety of everybody in Metropolis. He goes out of his way to save the day, no matter what is going on. His city always seems to be the safest, and he takes care of his people the best.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me! Who's got you?
Superman, ever since he has stepped on the scene back in 1939, has been the pinnacle of the American superhero. He is this beacon of hope and of light, and he has shined through all the way up until today for nearly 100 years. I mean, he's faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, and he can leap tall buildings in a single bound. But he's also...
I'm dying.
Superman is dying. His cells are oversaturated with the power from the sun. The very thing that gave him these powers is now killing him. And Superman can see it even on a microscopic level. And what would a man like him, being faced with his own mortality, do? He'd go see Lois. He'd live his life almost as though not a lot else was different. But this finally gave Superman the courage to show Lois who he truly is, to reveal that Clark Kent is Superman, and to celebrate her birthday in one of the most special ways possible, by bringing her to the Fortress of Solitude and showing her what it's like for Clark to be Superman. He's showing her around the Fortress of Solitude and just trying to give her all of the time that he has left that he didn't give her beforehand. And on top of all of this, he gives Lois one of the greatest gifts a person could ever receive, the abilities of Superman for 24 hours. But of course, in Metropolis, nothing's ever completely safe, and so Superman has to deal with some alien threats. And of course, in classic Golden Age comic book fashion, another few beings from around the world decide to challenge Superman for Lois's love, believing themselves more worthy. And of course, Superman wins these challenges and resolves to spend the rest of the day with Lois, enjoying her birthday, and getting to actually be with the woman he loves and cares for more than anybody else on this entire planet. And even when dying, Superman still sticks true to his nature as a reporter, even asking specifically to be the person to report on Lex Luthor as he's near death, because Superman believes that there is still this goodness inside of Lex Luthor. And even when the prison is being attacked by Parasite, one of Superman's greatest villains for the fact that he can take and absorb any powers from anyone, but Superman has to still keep his cover. He still has time left, and so instead, he goes with Lex Luthor and helps Lex Luthor survive and escape the prison and escape his death. But Clark leaves him with a couple words that he hopes will make Luthor think about what he's been doing with his life.
It's such a waste. You and Superman could have been friends, and instead you're going to die.
Ah, but he'll die first.
Superman spends the rest of his life that he has left on Earth trying to take care of other people. Right here you're seeing the lost city of Kandor, something Superman has and that he promised to find them a new world. But with his death imminently approaching, he has to try and do it soon. He believes it will take him 2 months to get there and back, and this leaves Lois distraught.
What do you always say? There's always a way.
I'm sorry, Lois. The work doesn't stop just because I'm dying.
Take your people to their new home. When you get back, I'll be right here waiting.
But when Superman does come back, he is far more worse for wear than when he arrived. I mean, he straight up crash lands, nearly killing people who were trying to set up this circus. Superman is, for all intents and purposes, slowly starting to lose his powers. But that doesn't stop him from being a hero. When Superman arrives back in Metropolis, he is greeted by two different Kryptonians who have been helped by Lex Luthor to get to Earth. They have been parading themselves around as the new heroes of Earth, and they're far more brutal and authoritarian than Superman would have liked them to. And even as Superman had offered them a place on this planet and some time to sort of adjust, they instead attacked him and attacked his friends at the Daily Planet, as Superman, instead of just deciding to fight them to the death or just try and hurt them, he does something far different. He wants to help them. They've been poisoned by kryptonite and they're slowly dying. As a matter of fact, this one right here is nearly dead. And yet, even as Superman extends his hand and offers help, they throw it away and they try to go on their own. And yet, Superman was undeterred by that. He brought them all the way back to the Fortress of Solitude and offered them the one place where they could live out the rest of their lives without having to deal with this kryptonite poisoning, and that was in the Phantom Zone. Superman believed in giving them forgiveness rather than just trying to hurt these people who had, for all intents and purposes, just tried to hurt him and kill his friends, all because Superman wasn't willing to be a ruthless Kryptonian. Because at the end of the day, Superman is far less about hurting people or getting revenge. He's about seeing the best in people, even at his detriment. And this all takes him back to Lex Luthor, who Superman once again tries to reconcile with, to try and mend the bridge between the two.
So here's a challenge. All the things you said you would have done to benefit humanity if I hadn't been in your way, now's the time to prove it. Lex, I know there's good in you.
Lex Luthor once again throws away Superman's kindness, and Superman decides, with his life nearing its end, to go speak to the one father he had always had, especially before having to take on Solaris, which is a gigantic red sun, one of Superman's biggest weaknesses, hence why he's wearing this red sun resistant suit. And Superman almost believes this to be his last heroic acts, as he truly does know these are some of his last hours living. And of course, the way he beats Solaris is to give his sun-eating pet a meal. But all of this was orchestrated. It was all a plan and a plot by Lex Luthor to get another one-up on Superman. He had reverse engineered the serum Superman had given to Lois Lane and used it on himself to give himself Superman's powers for 24 hours, and was using Solaris as a distraction to hopefully kill Superman once and for all.
Won't be coming to the rescue.
That's too bad, because without him, we're screwed. Look at these pictures from our Singapore desk. The sun is turning blue.
Don't you get it? Solaris double-crossed you and poisoned the sun, you vain, stupid little man!
Lex Luthor's ego and his inability to let Superman just be caused him to make a deal that would end up with him being double-crossed and the world put in even graver danger. And to top this all off, instead of letting Superman help fix the sun, Lex Luthor believes he can do it all on his own, and instead results in beating the ever-living shit out of Superman, who was already dying at this point and severely underpowered. All of this just so he could prove how far superior he was to Superman. But Superman was just playing the long game. He was waiting for Lex Luthor's serum to run out, and when it did, he had won again, and forced Lex Luthor to face his failure one last time.
See, if it wasn't for you, I could have saved the world.
If it had mattered to you, Luthor, you could have saved the world years ago.
You're right.
After all of these years, Lex Luthor had finally understood what Superman was trying to get at. And this, of course, had to happen when Superman was finally going to die. Superman was going to sacrifice himself to keep the sun from turning blue. By flying into it and transforming into pure energy, he was going to save the day one final time, as he was trying in his last efforts to hopefully give his greatest enemy some perspective on the world. You see, this entire movie is Lex Luthor's fault. Lex Luthor had decided to try and sabotage a mission to the sun in which they would harvest the sun's energy, effectively bringing Superman so close to the sun that his cells had overabsorbed the sun's energy, and in a matter of fact, it would kill him. But something did come out of Superman's final sacrifice. Lex Luthor wasn't trying to escape prison. He wasn't trying to do anything. He was awaiting his execution date because he knew he deserved it. And he was finally ready to admit that Superman was right and gives the greatest gift he could give: the genome to Superman.
Is that?
A map of Superman's genetic code.
I reverse engineered it from his 24-hour super serum. I also finally figured out how to replicate it.
Even in death, Superman inspired his greatest enemy to give up his ways and to choose to be something better, and to choose forgiveness, to choose to do something with his wealth of knowledge. Superman, through forgiveness, not through anger, not through hate, not through selfishness, but through forgiveness, was able to redeem his greatest villain. Superman is the greatest hero ever. So this was Superman All-Stars. In my opinion, the best Superman movie that has ever been made, and it really does get down to who the core of Superman is. He's not Jesus, he's not some perfect savior. Instead, he is a flawed man who tries his best to be better every single day. And thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. If you've stuck around to the end of this video, you're a real one for this. I love to see it. Comment your favorite Superman iteration, whether it's movies, TV shows, comics, if you've made it to the end. And if you'd like to see these videos up to a day, sometimes 2 days early and unedited, subscribe to my Patreon if you want to support the content. If not, that's perfectly fine. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.